Hello, my name's Gabriel and I have what they call schizophrenia. Today I'm going to be talking about some of the delusions I had when I was in psychosis, specifically my last psychosis back in 2020. Now, in my psychosis, I went through a lot of crazy beliefs, and they were kind of genius in a way, even though they weren't real. But they were out of the box things that I would come up with in my psychosis. Here's one of the delusions I had when I was in psychosis. I thought I was on a telepathic server shared between me and other people with schizophrenia. So basically, I felt like my voices were other people in the same area as me that had schizophrenia. And I thought we were on a telepathic server. I felt like we were talking to each other and somebody linked us onto a server, and basically the voices I heard were other people with schizophrenia. I actually talked to who what I one of my voices, and I thought it was somebody who lived in the same city as me. And I asked what street they live on, and this is the weird thing. They said a street, and I looked it up, and it was in my area, and I never heard of this street before. And I actually went out to try and meet this person somewhere that I heard in my head. And then I ended up walking home and changing my mind. But I thought I was going to meet up with this person that I was hearing in my head. And this was a weird delusion because I felt like it was real. And I would pay attention to the direction that I would hear these voices in and look at the map to see where that direction was and where it was linked to. And I felt like the voices were coming from certain buildings in my city based on the direction that I would hear the voice. And it was a really weird experience, and I felt like I was a genius for figuring this out. And of course, when this happens and you think you figured it out, you feel like you're superhuman. You feel like you've cracked the code, and it kind of fuels your delusion and makes you more confident in yourself. Another delusion that I had was I thought I was talking to ghosts, angels, and demons. I felt like Michael the angel was talking to me and causing me heart problems because of my past karma. And my heart would start racing really, really fast, and my arms would go numb. And I thought it was Michael the Archangel punishing me for karma that I built up in my past life. Another delusion I had was I thought the universe repeated itself over and over and over again. And this is the weird thing about it. It was another thing that made me feel super genius and superhuman because I felt like I cracked the code. I thought that in ancient Egypt, I thought that the universe repeats itself like a clock. So I thought ancient Egypt happened not only before our time, but after our time. So I thought by reading the hieroglyphics, I could figure out what happened in the future, because not only was ancient Egypt in the future, but it was also in the past. And so picture this, ancient Egypt happens, and then time goes on, and then 2020 comes and happens, and then the world ends, and then ancient Egypt happens and writes about 2020, and then 2020 happens again, and not only is ancient Egypt in the past, but it's also in the future. So by looking at what they wrote in ancient Egypt, I could predict what happened in the future, because ancient Egypt was in the future and the past. And that was a crazy delusion I had that made me feel superhuman and made me feel like I was kind of like a prophet. I felt like I was cracking the code to everything, and I felt genius for it, and it kind of gave me confidence and brought on other beliefs. Like I thought the world was going to end in December 2020, and I was counting down the days for December 21st to come. And when December 21st came, the world didn't even end. And I was like, okay, that's weird, because I felt 100% sure that it was going to end, and it didn't. So it's like it doesn't matter how much you believe in something, it might not always be true, even if it feels super real to you. And that was a really interesting delusion that I had. Another delusion I had was reincarnation beliefs. I felt like I reincarnated thousands of times, and it might not even be a delusion, it might just be a spiritual belief. And I do believe in reincarnation still, but I felt um, like I was in outer space looking through a portal at certain people in the past, like before I was born. I thought I was looking down into a portal over certain people that were on Earth in the 60s and 70s and 80s, and I thought I was watching over them before I was born. And this leads me to the next delusion I had, which was I felt like I helped record certain songs as a spirit before I was born. I felt like I couldn't incarnate. One of my delusions was that I couldn't incarnate at the time, and I was kind of like on a spiritual thing where I wasn't allowed to incarnate yet, and I was sending people to incarnate for me and make songs based on my message. So I felt like I was watching over certain celebrities and channeling words through them for them to record into a song and basically get my message out there, because I couldn't, because I wasn't allowed to incarnate yet. God wasn't letting me. So I'm not going to tell you the artists that I thought I channeled music through, but there was a certain song that I would listen to in Psychosis, and I 100% thought that it was my song, and although it was made by someone other than me, I felt like I got them to incarnate for me and record my song. So I felt like I kind of took the credit for that song being made, and I felt like it was my song even though someone else sung it. I felt like I channeled the words through me into them so they could record my song because I couldn't incarnate. And this was really interesting, and the song was really emotional. And I remember when I first entered Psychosis in 2020, I listened to this song and it felt like everything was making sense. It was like reflecting my past lives, and I felt like every word that they said was coming from my soul. And basically, I would think about something, and as the song was playing, it would mention, I don't know how to explain it, but it was like reflecting my spiritual beliefs about my past life. And I felt like the song was about my past life. And then I was in the spiritual realm, and I got another person. I channeled the music through them, and they recorded it, and that it was my song. Another delusion that I had was that the voices I was hearing, they were able to control my heart and cause heart problems. And what would happen is, you've probably seen my other videos if you're a subscriber, where I talk about my heart racing. So what would happen is the voice would say 3, 2, 1, on your marks, get set, go, and my heart would start racing really fast. And looking back, I think that's very weird and ironic, because usually when you say on your marks, get set, go, you're saying that at a race. And when they said that, my heart would start racing. So I find that very weird. And I didn't really think about it until months later that, hey, it's really odd. But they would say, on your marks, get set, go. And my heart would start pounding so fast that my arms and legs would go numb and I couldn't walk. And I would get really dizzy. And I could hear my heart beating in my chest. And I swore that was it. I thought I was having heart problems, and that the voices were demons or angels, and they were causing heart problems. And I really wanted to believe it was demons and not angels, because if an angel's making you have heart problems, that's kind of weird and scary. So I hoped that it was demons, but in August I was watching videos on schizophrenia trying to convince myself that it was fake. And finally it clicked that it was a hallucination and I was having panic attacks. And I had to get back on my medication and recover. But that was another delusion I had, was that the voices or hallucinations that I thought were angels and demons, I thought they could control my heart. And I felt really scared, and it was just not a good feeling. It was a horrible feeling. I still remember getting this weird smell in my nose when my heart was racing, and getting dizzy and not able to walk. And that was probably the scariest 30 seconds of my life. And I was convinced that I don't even know how to explain how scary that feels when you feel like your heart can be controlled by another entity. That is scary. And I was only 21. It was 2020. I was 21 years old. And I just remember thinking when my heart was racing that I was going to reincarnate into a different life. And that was a really scary feeling, and I never want to experience it again. But if I do experience it again, I know it's a panic attack, and I know how to calm down from it and not overlook it and not think that, I have heart problems, because it's not heart problems. It was me panicking, having a panic attack, and it was a coincidence because it happened right after the countdown. And I think what happened is when they reached 1, my brain kind of got nervous because I didn't know what they were counting down to, but I had a suspicion that something bad was going to happen. So when it reached 1, my heart started racing, and I had a major panic attack. But it was bad timing. Another delusion that I had was I felt like reality would repeat itself over and over again. But not only that, I felt like other souls have lived my life before me, and the DNA was the biological internet. So I felt like other souls millions of years ago lived my life in this time frame. So at the time it was 2020, so I felt like other souls have lived through 2020 before in my body with my DNA. And the last delusion I'm going to share with you in this video is I felt like stars dictated what was happening on Earth. And basically what I mean is I felt like when a certain star aligns with Earth and other planets, it causes an energy to go onto Earth, and people act by the energy they're feeling, and that's how the universe kind of managed to make everything repeat itself. So like Earth would go around these stars, and as it's moving around these stars, the stars are reflecting energy onto Earth, and people are reacting to that energy, and it's causing the same thing to happen over and over and over again as the Earth goes through that same star pattern. So yeah, that's the last delusion in this video that I'm going to share with you. If you enjoyed this video and you want to support the channel, you can use super thanks under the video to make a small donation. Don't feel obligated to. And if you want to leave a comment or have any questions, leave a comment below and subscribe for more. My name's Gabriel and I have what they call schizophrenia. Have a good day.